Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All between Fred, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, V. How are you today?
Good. Special edition. We got the Dead Daisies on. Jason couldn't make it today. He's making sure the mail is delivered to all of you. So, yeah, had a little. So we just did the reaction video to light them up 40 minutes ago, and I scrambled to get back, and you got on, John got on. So in between that time, my son's boss, who lives 3 blocks down the alley, we had to go over there. He's on the floor, thrown into a bowl. Ambulance, call the ambulance, get him on the ambulance. And I'm like, yeah, we got 8 minutes left to showtime, no problem. Anyway,
piece of cake.
Piece of cake. So, Fred, why don't you do the honors and introduce our guest, sir?
Well, we are privileged tonight, V, to have a couple incredibly talented musicians whose musical resume between the two of them is phenomenal. They're currently back together with the band, the Dead Daisies, as you mentioned. They've got a new album that's due out for release in September called Light 'Em Up. And as Vince mentioned, they released a single by the same title, Light 'Em Up. Vince and I did a reaction video to it, which you can catch after this interview tonight. They're currently on tour, and so we're honored that they're giving us a little bit of time. So don't worry, Flint, Michigan. We won't keep them on too long. We'll let them get to the showtime. They're actually going to be out in my neck of the woods tomorrow at the Arcata Theater in St. Charles. I'll be there for that show. So, and they're starting a U.S. tour, and then they're going to be hitting the U.K. and Europe. So let's welcome to Creativity Talk and the Dead Daisies, John Karobi and Doug Aldridge.
What's up, gentlemen?
Howdy.
Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
How you doing? Dude, the new song is killer, man. You guys are probably the best rock band on tour for sure. Like straight up the best rock band.
I will
Fun
say
journey.
this. John Karobi is throwing a party at the Arcata Theater, and you don't want to miss this shit. It's right.
Now, let me ask: when you say we're the best band on tour, do you mean just this tour? Because we are the only band on this tour. I'm just saying. Well, we need to clarify that because.
Oh no! Like you guys are like straight up one of the best rock bands out there, and you just happen to be on tour. You guys always bring fun. Fun's been lost in music for a little while there, and you guys are one of the guys who are bringing back the fun. Your social media is hilarious, you guys. By the way, getting knocked out by that big bottle, John, laying under it the other day. It just looks like you guys have a lot of fun. You know?
We do.
You know what? The one thing that gets lost in all of the whatever that people talk about with the Dead Daisies is even if we weren't in a band with each other,
yeah,
we're all like really long time friends with each other. You know, Doug and I have known each other, God, since he was 15, 16, 17 years old. And as a side note, I was 43, but whatever. But I've known Tommy Clefettos since for the last 20 years. I've known Michael Devin since, 1998, 99. So we all go way back and we actually, enjoy each other's company, even when we're not together. Like Doug and I are always texting. We're both from Philly, so we're, Philadelphia Eagles fans, and we're texting each Sunday, like, go Eagle, whatever.
Gotcha.
So we're friends. We enjoy being with each other, and we just have fun when we're on stage and just in general. So it's it makes it quite the trip.
So that Philly cheesesteak picture meant more than just a Philly cheesesteak.
It's kind of like a going home ritual, man.
Got to do it.
Exactly, like when people talk about Chicago pizza and they're like, "Oh, shouldn't." I'm like, "Yeah, New York, you shouldn't fold your pizza. You shouldn't be able to fold your pizza like an airplane." So.
See, now I am a little bit of a stickler for East Coast pizza, but my Chicago go-to is Portillo's.
Oh yeah, man,
got to do that one.
Absolutely.
I'll do it. Let's go, Crab.
Yeah, dude, it's definitely. Portillo's is
I'll tell you what, John. I tell you what, John, I'll be at the show tomorrow night at the St. Charles Theater. My birthday was a couple of days ago, and my daughter knows, she lives in Ohio. She knows how much I love Portillo's chocolate cake. So she sent me a whole chocolate cake by mail the other day. And
Best cake ever.
I mean, I know that's like a million calories per bite, but I will finish that cake probably in about a week's time, but I'll bring you a slice tomorrow night. How's that?
Well, then that's not you finishing the entire cake, my friend.
Well, I would be honored to share you a slice of my Portillo's chocolate cake.
Yeah, and Doug, last night I went down a rabbit hole for at least an hour watching you talk about all the songs that you loved growing up in the key of A.
Oh, okay. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest keys for guitar songs, anyways, right?
Yeah, and it was the basis of the whole video was All Right Now by Free, and that what a great tune, man.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah, man. There's and that's what we're doing with that's what happened with Light 'Em Up. We were about 4 or 5 songs in, and Marty Fredrickson said, "Hey, I got this riff that Stevie D from Buck Cherry sent to me, and he wants to use it for the next Buck Cherry record." And we're like, Crab goes, "Oh, I like that riff," and we took that riff and we worked it into a new song, which turned out to be Light 'Em Up. So it was supposed to be on the Buck Cherry record, but we stole it. It's
Good steal.
It's
so the new
in A. So that's the whole thing. That's one of those A riffs.
So how many tracks are on the new album, which comes out in September? Correct?
Yes. There's 10 on the new record, Light 'Em Up, and but it's funny, we kind of did a little bit of a bucket list thing on this record. When we recorded, we started in Nashville, and I apologize, this is a little bit of a longer story, but we started writing and recording in Nashville. And then we actually got to pack everything up, and we drove down in my motorhome to Muscle Shoals.
Oh, wow.
And we went to the Fame Studios, which is where the whole Muscle Shoals sound started.
Yeah.
And we had the good fortune of writing and recording there.
Nice.
And it just became like this kind of, suck up the mojo. I mean, we did our work during the day. At night, we got a little bit, looser, and there was some wine involved and some whiskey, and we were just kind of blown away because it's funny, for about, what was it, like 30 minutes, Doug, every day, they would bring like a tour through the studio. It's like a museum as well.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so around that time, it became like Wine 30.
Yeah.
And then we just started jamming, and we kept everything rolling, and we actually recorded we actually recorded a blues record that's coming later.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, later, I guess next year. We're really stoked about it. So we're doing one of the songs in our set now this year and kind of telling everybody or prepping everybody.
Yeah.
But we're really super excited about that. So we actually knocked out 2 records this year.
Wow.
And, it's awesome. It's going to be really cool.
Now, when they brought the tour through before you popped your wine, were they like, and here you see musicians in their natural habitat?
Yeah. It was a little weird catching the nuts without using our hands. But yeah, it was a little weird. They were like bringing groups through where we're like, we're all like daring each other. Dude, I'll give you $100 right now if you take your pants off and just walk through that crowd. So it did get a little weird, but
when I used to work at Universal all the time. Yeah, when I used to work at Universal Studios, you always had the tour groups on. We'd always just mess with those, putting bags over our head. Everyone's like, taking pictures and stuff. So the vibe at Muscle Shoals,
It's great.
I mean, was it palpable? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's where Aretha Franklin cut her first big song. I
Yeah.
Never Man, and Wilson Pickett did all his stuff there with. That's where him and Duane Allman recorded together, and it just had a great vibe, man. And the engineer Spencer, remember him, Crab?
Yeah.
Great dude. You know, he'd been there for years and years, and we just kind of got inspired, man, and drunk, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
you know what the cool thing is? There's a little bit of a heritage thing, or lineage, whatever word you want to use. So we started writing at Marty's place in Nashville.
Okay.
And if you ever watch that documentary on Muscle Shoals, you realize that the first place was called Fame Studios, which is where we recorded. And then a couple of the guys from the Swampers left and started another place cross town,
Right.
which became equally as famous. And then there was a record company guy, I can't remember his name, but some of the guys left the second place and went to Nashville and started a studio called Quad, which is where also became a legendary Nashville studio that Marty Fredrickson bought, which is where we recorded Make Some Noise, Burn It Down. And so we rehearsed in the room and recorded in the room that Neil Young did Harvest in.
Oh, wow.
So there was like this weird lineage between that first studio in Muscle Shoals and Marty's place. So it was just a bucket list even for Marty. Like Marty's like, yeah, dude, let's go to Muscle Shoals. And so it was a really cool time. And it was kind of trippy because I'm like singing some of this stuff and I'm literally looking at a photo of Aretha Franklin with like a cigarette and whiskey. Right. And she's using the same mic that I'm recording on. So it was
that's crazy.
It's really awesome.
Last night I just finished up the 4-part documentary on Stax.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really well done. What an amazing story that is. You know, and how they just got screwed into the ground, you know, greedy record executives, you know.
And it's still happening today.
Right? Yeah, I can't believe that the CEO of Spotify goes out, oh, yeah, it's free to create content if you're a content creator. Dude, fuck you. Like what? Like, you know what I mean? I don't get it, you know? I don't get it. And people are like, oh, yeah, it's a great thing. I'm like, oh, you get screwed.
You know, it's weird, though. Now they're, you know, I think... I'll tell you what, like the thing that kind of brought it to everybody's attention, because, you know, a lot of artists have been kind of bitching and whining about this shit for years, right. Sure. Musical artists. Yeah. But now the thing is, last year, you know, they had the actors and the screenwriters started sitting there going, okay, wait a minute. Like back in the day, we would do a movie and it would go to theaters and they would sell tickets and we could count those. Right. Now a movie goes on and these actors are being paid an upfront fee to do a movie for Netflix. But they're like, how do we count how many times it's shown? You know what I mean? The streaming thing. Right. And so now they're like trying to figure out ways to get around that. And I think once they get that together, then they're going to be able to apply some of that to the musicians. You know, like I said, you know, maybe not right now, but in 2036, 2040, my granddaughters will be fucking living life. You know, I mean, it'll be awesome. Right.
Yeah, because you would think the fact that they don't release the streaming numbers is bothersome.
It is.
Well, and that's
your leverage.
Yeah, that's what all these actors and everybody are complaining about. So I think they're going to have to get a grip. And now I was just telling Doug a couple of days ago, you know, with the AI thing, Tennessee was the first state, which is where I lived. They just passed this thing called the Elvis Act. And now they're like, no, most of the income we get statewide taxes is from the entertainment industry. So we're going to take care of the artists. So if anybody uses an AI, like, you know,
likeness,
Tim McGraw, whatever, they're going to apply some sort of a fee to it.
Oh,
So-
even even like with the actors, if you're an extra, they wanted to be able to scan you and use you in perpetuity. Are you
Yeah.
kidding?
yeah.
But
And
remember,
that's
remember Metallica back in the it was
Yeah.
in the 90s with Napster, and everyone was like, "Oh, those guys are they're bad guys for saying that." But
He
you
was
know what?
absolutely right.
They were right.
they saw it coming, and
Yeah.
you know, and then the other one was you know, I don't know how long ago the movie came out, but even The Rock was kind of bitching about that Mummy movie when he was the Scorpion King. He goes, dude, I wasn't even on the fucking set.
Right.
You know, they used my face for that Scorpion King thing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he kind of called it as well, like years ago, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw the Bruce Willis had done something like that where they used his likeness to all AI. You really couldn't tell, but it's scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think that AI should be used to, arts is where we get our humanity from. You know what I mean? If we don't have art, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't have that outlet.
Well, and there's a really great interview if you watch with Bill Maher, Sheryl Crow. She talks about all this shit, and she was talking about how the humanity part is being removed by AI. But the one thing I didn't even realize, she was talking about, I don't know how long he's been, how long ago he passed away, but I didn't even realize somehow they did an AI generated George Carlin record.
Yeah, that just unbelievable.
What's he been dead like 10 years or 15 years?
Yeah, his daughter's really pissed off about it too.
Yeah, he's got a new
rightfully so
comedy record out, and I'm like, what? So
yeah, that's just scary.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a few years ago, it's not quite AI, but it was about 7 years ago, the Ronnie James Dio hologram show. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah.
They had a live band there, and they had Greg Goldie was one of the guitar players, but they had Dio's hologram on stage, and he did about 5 or 6 songs, and it was cool, but it's also scary to know that they have the capability to basically put a band on stage with no band being there.
But at least that was done with their permission.
You know, I have an AI cape. I have an AI Kate Beckinsale in the shower right now, so I'm not going to complain about that. But
great choice.
It might be a little weird.
Great choice. You know, Rudy Sarzo was on a couple months ago talking about AI, and he's like, I love it. He uses it to jam with himself because all the people that he would jam with, he said, moved out of town. So he goes through this thing and he jams with AI at home.
Interesting.
That's just kind of weird. I couldn't do it, but
just have to be careful about that technology because it can get out of hand, very quickly.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Okay. So, is there a theme for this whole album, or are you guys just writing whatever comes up?
Well, we wanted to just make a kick-ass, straight ahead rock and roll record, kind of almost, with the lineage of what the Dead Daisies has been since John's been singing, and carry on to the next level. And then we took a couple of left turns, and there's a couple of tracks that are like, there's one in particular that I think we wrote it down in Alabama. It's just like a cornerstone track. It's a heavy lyric, it's a heavy subject, and it's a really inspiring piece of music that it's like an epic track, and Dead Daisies hasn't had that before. So we got some interesting stuff on this record.
I mean, I love that the way that you guys describe yourself as the rock and roll collective. And, for people who maybe are seeing you guys for the first time, the Dead Daisies, they have members that come in and come out at certain points. Maybe they're working on different. I just think that's a great, because it's built in already. People, I'm sure if people talk shit, that's their own deal, but it's almost built in for that not to happen.
Well, it's basically, sorry, go ahead, John.
You know what's weird? Like, I think ultimately, I think David Lowy, who started the band, ultimately, if he could have, the stability of, a set lineup, he would love that. But when he first put the band together, you got to remember he had the first incarnation of the band was with this guy John Stevens, an incredible singer. But he was in excess in a very popular band in Australia called Noiseworks.
Yeah.
You had Marco Mendoza, who was still in Thin Lizzy at the time. Then you had Dizzy Reed and Richard Fortas. And I think in the back of David's mind, he knew, like, I want to put a kick-ass band together.
Yeah.
But at any given moment, these guys may have to go back and, go do their own things, which, obviously John Stevens had to leave. And then Dizzy and Richard left and entered Doug Aldrich. Doug's, he was doing Whitesnake. He was actually playing with Glenn Hughes as well, and doing other things. So, David called it a collective as a just in case kind of a thing.
Sure.
If we could have a set lineup, I think David would love that. But that's what happens when you get the caliber of players like Doug.
Absolutely.
Tommy Clefettos or Brian Tishy, any of these guys, they do other things. So I think he just used that term in mind. Now, the other thing, sorry about my long answers. A lot of these guys that are on the list, they're part of the Dead Daisies family. They're friends. As big as the music industry is, it's really quite small.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys are just pals of ours that for one reason or another, maybe just filled in for a few dates.
Right.
There's been a few occasions where David had to bail out of a couple of shows because he had some business shit he had to take care of.
Right.
So we would get Damon Johnson or Yogi to just fill in. So they get put on the list when in all actuality, they just kind of filled in for a couple of dates.
Right.
The lineup's, been Doug, David, myself, Michael's now been involved in a few tours. Hopefully he's here to stay. Same with Tommy. We'd like to keep some sort of consistency.
Yeah.
But
it's what it comes down to. It's John's band, and whoever he wants, he's going to. It's John's band. No, really, the truth is that we were doing this best of, and you listen to the songs, and it's like, we've had, John Stevens started with the band and did some great work, and then obviously Glenn Hughes came in for a little bit and did some great work.
Absolutely.
But the best of album was featuring John Corabi, so. It's John's band. It's John's world. We're just in it.
Which, as I said earlier, if all calculations run true to form.
Right.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Forgot to pay electric. Maybe he's going back to see Kate in the shower.
He's probably Kate Beckinsale's back in the
She just pulled him in
the shower there.
Uh-oh.
He'll sign back in. But one thing that from a fan's perspective, Doug, the Dead Daisies is one band the fans never worry about.
We
always know you guys are solid.
Well, what I was going to say was when I noticed the band when it was the first real lineup to the band, I think was when John joined with Richard and Dizzy and Marco and Tishy. That was a great lineup. And then of course, thankfully Guns N' Roses came out. I'm not just saying that because then I got the gig, but I'm saying it because I'm glad Guns N' Roses is out touring and then we're doing this now and having a blast doing it. And this new record has, if you guys, I don't know, it's been really good. The response about Light 'Em Up.
Oh yeah.
We've got another half of a record that's exactly that in that vein. It's just straight up kick ass. And like I say, then we got some left turns that you have not heard from the Dead Daisies before or John, so
right on.
Some of our favorite stuff, like cornerstone tracks, like you take that song off, it's not going to be a single, but if you take it off, you're going to go, oh man, I missed that song, So
Absolutely.
we're excited.
So Doug
Yeah,
and John, this is your 7th album, Dead Daisies. So you've obviously got quite a catalog of songs. But when you tour, how do you balance the set list? Do you try to keep it all Dead Daisies, or do you? I mean, because you both, between you two and the other band members, have been in some incredible bands. Do you ever throw in a song from any other past bands? No,
Nope.
keep it all Dead Daisies.
You know, this is a thing, like, for all of us. You know, we're on tour as the Dead Daisies. It is the Dead Daisies.
Yeah.
If you want to see Man in the Moon or Hooligan's Holiday, go to a, you know, that's a different
Right.
entity and whatever. So this is about the Dead Daisies only, and
Okay, fair enough.
I like it that way.
You know, a lot of bands they have a lot of bands have really good singers. You, John, are a fantastic, amazing vocalist, but as well, you're a musician all around. You're a guitar player, and you're a great front man. There's a lot of people who don't know how to front that I've seen lately that just I don't understand how they, it's a different thing maybe, but you bring a certain amount of chaos with you in a good way.
Where can you later when we're done? Can you text me your address so I can send you the check for that?
Fuck yeah.
Was it $5 or $10? I forget.
Give me $1. Coupon
What?
Portillo's is good, bro.
And I'll echo that, John, because I saw you twice at the Arcada playing an acoustic set. The first time you backed up Winger and Tom Keeper, and then the last time I saw you backed up Orenthi, and
Yeah.
you were phenomenal on stage, and you have such a fun time
Yeah.
on stage as an acoustic artist. And I want to give you a plug here too. I picked up your book, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, and of course you signed it for me.
Thank you, sir.
So it was a great show, and you were just phenomenal. We had a nice conversation. There was me and my wife, and chit chatting after the show. I think that was right about the time I lent you $10. So we'll talk about that later.
All right.
But you have such a great time up on stage
I mean,
when you're doing
yeah,
acoustic.
the whole band though is, I mean, Doug on great stage presence, stagecraft. There seems to be at the younger bands. I don't know if they don't have enough stage time, but the stagecraft part of it seems to be lacking in newer bands. You know what I mean?
I don't know, but I think the main thing is like you said earlier, is that we have fun. We're grateful to be here. John is, I mean, I've been blessed to work with great singers, and John is right up there with Coverdale and Dio and commanding an audience. He just does it his way because he doesn't give a shit. He's going to do it his way, which is every time he does a show, I'm just, we're all laughing, because it's like he's just having fun with the audience, and the audience is there with us laughing together. We're having a good time, and then we're rocking out, and then we're telling jokes. It's just a good night. It's a good thing. I haven't really seen a lot of singers do that thing. Maybe they're doing it. Maybe there's some country singers doing that kind of a thing, but like a lot of the rock stuff is just straight up rock. It's straight up music, or it's more theatrical.
Right.
This is a party. That's why I said John's having a party, and he'd be the first one to buy you a drink at the bar or whatever.
Which bar? No.
Exactly.
I'm taking you up on that tomorrow. Bring Kate with you.
Yeah.
No, you're bringing the cake, bitch. I got the
I'll bring the cake. You bring Kate. We'll have a party.
So what's the rest of the plans for 24? Go ahead, John.
I gotta tell you guys, like, as far as the show thing goes, I had some years ago when I was a kid. I went to go see. This is going to be an odd one, but I went to go see Frank Sinatra at a place in Philadelphia, or right outside of Philadelphia, called the Latin Casino.
Okay.
My uncles and my dad took me, and and it was hilarious because the opening act was Dean Martin.
Wow, that's cool.
Wow.
And the entire show, all they did was fuck with each other the whole time.
Right.
So, like Frank Sinatra singing this song, or actually Dean Martin singing a song.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 3 songs into the set, and all of a sudden Frank Sinatra just walked on one of those old-fashioned like booze carts.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
pulled up a glass, dropped a couple ice cubes in it, poured in some whiskey, squirted some seltzer in it, handed it to Dean, and just walked off the other side of the stage.
Right.
And the audience was like just pissing themselves laughing.
Oh, yeah.
And then in turn, Frank Sinatra was singing that song. He does the song "Send In the Clowns," and
Yeah.
you know, and there's this like super quiet part, and then all of a sudden you hear like a zipper, what sounds like someone pissing in a toilet,
Oh my
and then a toilet flush. And it was so fucking funny. Even Sinatra couldn't finish the song. He was laughing so hard.
Right.
And then my dad and my uncle turned around to me and they said, "See, that's a show.
Yeah.
If you want to hear the CD,
Buy
you
the
can
CD.
put the CD in your stereo,
Right.
and you don't have to buy a ticket. You don't have to pay for parking. You don't
Right.
have to, you know, people want to see something different."
Right.
So, you know, we do our recordings, and we've got like, you know, 10 backing vocal tracks, and there's all this shit going on. And when we get on stage, we strip it down, the main parts. And then, as David Lowy said, and Doug, it's just about having fun.
Yeah.
So in between, I've got my little areas where I can talk to the audience, and we don't take ourselves all that serious.
Yeah.
It's just like, and it's funny because I literally fucking insult the audience a lot of times. I'm like, "Fuck you, bitches," da-da-da-da-da. But they love it.
Right.
It's just about having fun. So
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, it's like some performers, you know, if this even sounds right, have become too corporate, too many angles, too many 90-degree, or, you know, too many corners.
or too serious.
Yeah. Just relax. Yeah.
You know, but the good thing is, like I said earlier, Doug and I have known each other for 40 years, 35 years. Michael, you know, so we're pals anyway. You know, it wouldn't be unusual for us to start a fucking bowling club. You know what I mean? Whatever. So, you know, to just sit there and cut up, and, you know, talk about each other, and as we do anyway. So it's all good.
Yeah. So what's the rest of the year looking like for you guys?
Touring, and then when we're not touring, I got to go back to my night manager job at the 7-Eleven. But it's other than that.
Nice. Well, hopefully I'll have the machine fixed by the time you get back. But
Slurpees for everybody.
so when is the next? I know we're talking about Light 'Em Up, but when is that blues album? When is that going to percolate?
We don't know yet. Right now, we're on the first single of Light 'Em Up, and it's honestly, it's been. I mean, we've got it like in 10 days. We had a couple 100,000 views on YouTube. It's just kicking ass there. It's number 2 in France. England just added it on all their radio stations. So
yeah, why wouldn't it be on the radio? You know, it's got everything. It checks all the boxes. You know what I mean? Great
yeah,
video.
the blues record's in the can. It's done, and it'll come. But you know, now we're just stoked about Light 'Em Up and get this thing off the ground.
Great album cover, man. Look at that. That is just badass.
Fireball.
Absolutely. And you can get all the information for tour dates close to you at the deaddaisies.com. And you can check out all the merchandise there. Definitely go subscribe to their YouTube channel, subscribe to all their social medias. Doug, John, pleasure.
Thank you guys.
Thank
See you guys tomorrow night at the Arcada. Hopefully I'll get a chance to maybe pop in and say hi somehow, but I'll hunt you down and find you.
You better have cake with you.
I will have a piece of cake. I have to now. I have to now.
Yeah.
Right on. Thank you guys both individually.
Thanks
and
so much.
for decades worth of kick-ass music. We appreciate it.
Yes.
And thanks for helping me, get laid along the way. Thanks, guys.
Well, that was too much information, buddy. That's what I did not need.
No problem. Yeah. It's all right. Anyway, thank you guys. Have a good one and check out Dead
Thanks,
Daisies.
Vincent.
And we'll
Thank you,
see you
guys.
guys next time on Creativity Talking.
All right, guys.
See you guys. Thank you.